welcome back to Youthology on AUK Radio, brought to you by Attentive Social Enterprise every 2 Wednesdays of the month from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So we're back with the second half of the show, 2 different guests, which is always fun to keep it new. And on this half of the show, we've got Mariam.
Hi.
Hello. And we've also got Jeremiah.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Hi, Jeremiah. Hello. And it'd be great to hear your perspectives on our project called Para Youth Action.
So, do you both think that young people feel their voices are being heard when it comes to tackling violence? So let's start with Jeremiah.
Personally, I believe with a project as Power Your Action, a lot of young people voices are being heard. Not just Power Your Action, like projects such as the CYCD, the community, the Center for Youth and Community Development, where youth are able to go and converse on social issues in their local community. I think those are platforms in which youth are able to voice themselves out. But apart from that, I would say many youths will still argue and differ from my opinion and say that their voices are not being heard by the adults and by the lawmakers.
I get what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. Mariam, what do you think?
Could the question be reiterated? I couldn't hear it very well.
Do you think young people feel that their voices are heard when it comes to tackling violence?
I don't think we feel heard. Well, I'm going to speak as a young person myself. I don't think we feel very heard because then these type of conversations wouldn't still be continuing in our 21st century. Things like just violence on the streets, being able to feel safe when you're walking down the streets and not having fear of like someone coming to use a knife on you or someone coming to jump you and things like that. We have a lot of these worries, and even though we've voiced that out over the years most of the times, the fact that we still haven't addressed the issue, I don't think we're being heard.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It is being addressed over and over again, and that's probably just signaling that there's something deeper, which I think is why Para Youth Action also comes in play, because then we're able to really listen to young people's voices and go and actually talk to young people. So that is a really good point. And moving on to that, can you tell us one thing that you could have an immediate impact on reducing power? So in terms of one thing, so if you can think about one thing that could have an immediate impact on reducing youth violence, what do you think it would be?
An immediate effect?
Yeah. Or immediate impact?
This is kind of similar to something that I spoke about at the CYCD event, but something like using ex-offenders to speak to people with certain issues. So say there was a specific area in our town where there was a lot of knife crime, you could go to speak to the youth through possibly like high school assemblies and such. And by bringing in an ex-offender who's experienced all the altercations of having committed those crimes and having essentially messed up their lives over what they've done, by using them as an example, I feel like the youth would be able to, it would have some impact on their mind. If not an immediate effect, they will have some change in heart.
Oh yeah, that also does make sense. I like the way you're thinking about this as well. Jeremiah, do you have any opinions?
I agree with Miriam in terms of bringing ex-offenders to talk to the youth. I also say mentoring where the youth are advised and they are put through the consequences of committing crimes, not just the consequences, the lifelong effect you have on them in terms of their record, the inability to apply for jobs, and what it entails really for you and your life from that moment on when you are convicted as a criminal. You know, I believe it might not have an immediate impact, but I believe a long-lasting impact. Mentoring would be a very good way to tackle youth crime.
I think there aren't that many things that would have an immediate impact. I think a lot of things you need to look at more long term. But I think something that would have an immediate impact is just creating like an environment that discourages crime more. Like for example, on the street, if you have more street lighting, that kind of discourages crime and violence, right? So I think things like that, where it's kind of the environment doesn't feel like you should be doing something wrong.
Yeah, that does make sense. And we do talk about a lot about security in terms of lights and make sure that everything is lit up. So I do hope that that will be taken on board, just so that we don't have to kind of repeat it over and over again. Especially as a young person, I feel like many things that we say as young people are getting repeated, but the power, like people who make change, different organizations aren't really listening, which again I'm so glad that it's happening now through Power Youth Action.
So for the next question, what small changes do you think a local community could make to create a safer environment for young people? So let's start with Jeremiah.
First, I want to start with the issue of police in terms of what they call the stop and search and that point of view. I would say if the youth or the young people were educated on their rights and on the role the police have to play in terms of their safety, what the police limit to what the police officer can do to them, and how whatever is meant to address them. If there are classes, if organizations take and engage these youths on their rights, I believe we create a more safer community, and also you make the children more. You create a sense of awareness that I know that this is what, if I commit a crime, this is what I'll do, or if I am to be addressed by the police, they cannot go beyond this limit. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, education is definitely so powerful, and I think it can help you a lot in certain situations where you know your rights and you know how you can avoid certain things.
Yeah, and how to navigate through different situations as well. Mariam, did you have any opinions on this?
So the question was about what the community could do, right?
Yeah.
To make us feel safer, I'm going to go back to CYCD again. Another thing they spoke about, which I thought was it was somewhat helpful and it make a difference, even though it's really not that significant. And like more street lights. So there's a lot around like shopping centers and such, but in times like these where it gets really really dark, like really really soon, like crime is more like likely to happen because of this, and because there's not a lot of lights around, like the community, the younger people might not feel as safe, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. And you did mention CYCD quite a few times. Do you mind explaining what that is, just to anyone who's listening and don't have any idea of what's going on?
So I'm not an actual member of it, but I do know some people who go there quite often, and it's essentially a community centre service sort of thing, where a lot of the youth or even people a bit older, maybe university students, they go to volunteer, they go to be together as a community, build that strength. They play a lot of sports together. Sometimes they go on trips together. It's just things like just the small things that make a community enjoyable. CYCD try to reach those.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of social media, so we know it's a big thing. How do you think it influences youth violence today, in today's day and age?
The main outlet of like music videos, and a lot of music videos that our youth tend to listen to are really violent, or they speak of like drug abuse and misuse of that sense and different types of harassment. Being able to have access to that by a click of your fingers at whatever age, I don't think is really good for our youth in general.
Yeah, good point. Jeremiah?
Concurring with what Miriam just said, I believe social media is one of, if not the main outlet in which violence is being promoted through music. Through the music, like not to stereotype, but like rap music, there's a lot of violence and profanity. The rap music, a lot of youth listen to that and they want to be like their artist, they want to do what the artist are saying in the song and all of that. He really play a very pivotal role in promoting or I'll say minding youth violence.
100%. And I think also because social media can reach so many people, especially young people, I feel like many things or certain lyrics when you listen to certain songs are romanticized on social media, and then it can get to the wrong crowd, and as an effect of that they can take whatever they learned from that kind of media, so lyrics, and get on the streets and start practicing it. So
I think it's also about the people in the music videos or like singers can act as role models for these negative crimes or negative behavior. So how do you think a positive role model could help to avoid violent behavior in young people? So Jeremiah?
I would say, first of all, speaking about it, they should be vocal about it. They should acknowledge the fact that it is real, is happening, and is taking the life of the youth in our time. They should promote it in their social media outlets or their whatever platform they use to talk about it, and also encourage the youth to be more self-aware and promote peace in general.
100%.
Yeah.
Mariam?
A positive role model, in my opinion, well, quite obviously, they would influence the actual youth because the youth will want to be like them. Say someone who's successful through one of their one of their talents, or I'm not quite sure, but a successful person who's done it through ethical means would definitely inspire people because they feel like they wouldn't have to wrong anyone, they wouldn't have to wrong themselves to be able to be like them and make a good living for themselves and the people around them and make this world a better place. Like it's not always down to like drugs and like gangs and crime of those types.
100%. And I think you can also find those role models in family members. If you have the privilege to have any family members that you're close with and you can look up to. So do you think, how much of an impact do you think family has on young people who are at risk of violence?
Considering family are the people you go back to essentially every single night, I think that's a really big effect. And vulnerable youth who are like exposed to a lot of these things, if they do not have that backbone, that support from their family and guidance from people who are older than them to be able to tell them their rights from their wrongs, they're much more liable to fall into these like just these dark lives that could have been easily avoided.
100%. What do you think?
There's a popular saying which says it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
It takes a community to raise a child. So I believe family plays a very important role in preventing or reducing the risk of violence in a youth's life. The lessons they teach, the morals they impact in still in you from a young age, and just being examples by themselves, being good citizens and patriotic people to their community. Family is a key in reducing the risk of violence in the youth's life.
I think a lot of people or a lot of young people turn to violence when they feel they don't have any other options, or they feel that once they are part of that violent lifestyle, they can't get out of it. So what advice would you give to a young person trying to get out of a violent situation? Jeremiah?
I think they should seek help from social services. Let's start with something small, like each schools have like counselors, they have progress coaches, try their best, because when it's out there, when you're spoken as people are aware of the situation, then they can help you out with that in terms of directing you to the right programs to be attending to deal with the issue of violence, and also just giving you that sense of security and safety that it's you being into violence does not mean it's the end of the world. Like you can't get out of it.
Yeah, like you said, there's always a way out. It may not seem like it, but there's always a way out. It may not seem like it, but I think if you find that good role model, if you find someone that you relate to, when I say relate to, I don't just mean by blood, but someone that you
yeah.
can identify with, see yourself with, and stuff like that. I think if you can just kind of cling on to that, then there's a way. There's always a way out, in my opinion. Mariam, what do you think?
Say something like Jeremiah. He said that it's not the end of the world. It's definitely not. Like, there are ways to get out of it, and there's so many ways to get back on track as well. Like, some people think their life is completely over after they I don't know, got into the wrong crowd, because that's always going to recognize them as a part of them. So for them to leave that lifestyle would be like betrayal, and they'd always be on the bad side. Like, they might become a target. That might be a really big thing for them.
Yeah.
But if they go to the right people, so I know people do not trust police, and rightly so. But if they're able to find that teacher or that elder student who's got enough knowledge in that sector that they're worried about, if they're able to rely on someone, I feel like they might feel a bit more at ease of like trying to get out of it, because obviously not every student, not every human who gets into that type of lifestyle wants to.
Yeah, 100%. And I get what you're saying as well. Like, they might feel like the moment they live out, they become a target. And I do get that, because it can be quite overwhelming. You might just not see the bigger picture. You might just see what's in front of you, that, oh, if I get out, these are the consequences. And you might have seen those consequences being inflicted on someone else. So then you think you're the next person. But, like, it's always one step at a time. So you could always just go on your phone, try like searching something up, like where can I go, for example. The VERU is one. So you can always reach out to the VERU. You can, so for anyone who doesn't know, the VERU is the violence exploitation reduction unit, and they work in partnership with Attentive Social Enterprise as well as the police. So they're a big organization to help reduce crime, anything like that. So you can always self-refer to the VERU. And even if that's too overwhelming, you can just literally, I would say, even if you don't have close friends that you can talk to, approach a stranger on the street. Try. It sounds strange because of the day and age that we're in, because everyone's always on the phones and technology like that. But or just go to a youth center and just say something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times people feel alone, or they feel that they're the only person who's experienced something like this. But I think it's very common for lots of people to experience what you're experiencing, even though you might not feel like it and you might feel very isolated. But I feel like there's always someone who's been through it.
Yeah, I think there's always someone, 100%, that's either going through it or that has been through it, that can help you. So always be on the lookout for that. And speaking of opportunities, so we do know that lack of opportunities are linked to youth violence. And how do you think this issue can be resolved?
I think simple answer is create more opportunities. But what I would say is that there are opportunities, but it's, a lot of people are not where to get them, if you understand. Because joining Attentive, I have been open to a lot of opportunities and a lot of organizations, enterprises that give youths and young people the opportunity to express themselves and be vocal in their community. Although I would say it's limited or it's few in numbers, but there are opportunities. But people, youths are not just aware of them. Also, those kind of industry to be publicized.
Yeah, 100%. Mariam, what do you think?
I don't think I understood the question very well.
So the question was, so it seems to be that there's a lack of opportunities for young people, and that leads to youth violence. So how do you think this issue can be addressed?
I think, so from my understanding, I think things like prices is a really big thing. So instead of having I'm not sure. There's like a lot of courses and experiences and things you can do in our day and age that are really accessible to us, that from a range of fields of sports and photography and literature and whatever it is they need. But a lot of things come with like a hefty price. For example, the photography course that I saw started at like I think it was 200 to 500 pounds, I forgot which. But if things like this were a bit more affordable, because a lot are really young, so a lot of us aren't able to like source that money. If it was, if there were more work experiences or volunteer experience that were available to us without cost, I feel like more people would be willing to do it. Therefore, more people would be trained in different aspects and like kept busy with productive things, like keep them off the streets.
Yeah. Side note, if you join Attentive, you actually get these opportunities. Like Mario mentioned about photography. We do train you in photography. You can learn as much as you like. You can borrow a camera, given that you take good care of it. TNCs apply. but also it's just like and it's free, it's accessible, you know. You don't have to pay some kind of hefty price, because you know so many things you can search up online and then you see the price tag next to it, you're like, yeah, no. And then that's that dream potentially gone down the drain, which is really sad.
Yeah, there's definitely more opportunities that come with the price tag than the free ones.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a case of looking like harder to find those free opportunities. For example, with work experience, when I was trying to find work experience, a lot of it was not free, which is surprising because
that is surprising.
Yeah,
it's work experience.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that should just be offered, and it should be rare to have it priced. But yeah, I think it's definitely a case of trying to find those opportunities.
Yeah, and I would say also, if you can't find it online or by looking for it, this is when I think your network also comes in place. You could always just ask someone, hey, do you know where I could find a course on photography, for example? I'm sure someone will know Montel and refer you. So, yeah.
So, moving on from that, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing young people in your community?
Personally, I would say exposure. We're talking about the social media not long ago. I would say a lot of young people, when I speak to a lot of young people now, they don't know what they want, but they don't have an idea where they want to go in life. I would say exposure to a lot of stuff has caused confusion in a sense. Because back in the day, my parents told me growing up, they had like three, because I'm from Nigeria, they had like three main career paths. They either become lawyers, doctors, engineers, or the rest. So they were like a defined path. But in the modern day, I'll say there's a lot of opportunities and exposure. So people are not sure on what path to take. So that's why they put their hands into different stuff. They try new things, different avenues, and unfortunately, some they get into trouble or they get into mishaps. That might take on it.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. I didn't think of it way that too much exposure to something will actually just kind of confuse you.
Yeah, it desensitizes you, especially to violence, because you think they're normal, and then you start start acting more violently or antisocially.
100%. Mariam, do you have any view on this?
Yeah, I do agree with Jeremiah that too much exposure tends to normalize wrong things. But my point would be too little exposure to the right thing. So essentially, like lack of guidance. So I'm going to speak for myself and like my age bracket. After high school, you're tend to be told, like to do your own research and to see what like pathway suits you. But how can one do that if they don't even know the right ways to like research or where to source the correct information? Things like that, those type of guidances, even if it's just like courses and things someone might want to do in the future, it could also be guidance on how they can help out their own community, or guidance on how they can perhaps they have an idea that they want to implement. How can they actually implement that? Like guidance on being able to bring our thoughts to life and excelling it. I think we lack that a bit, because I feel like if a lot of youth were able to like follow rules that they make, like things that would be better for their society, which genuinely are, if more youth were able to do that, more youth would care about the world that they live in instead of just going to ruin their lives in X, Y, and Z ways.
Yeah, that does make sense as well. To exposure to the right things. I think that's something that should really be taken on board, especially in schools and sixth forms. Something that they could get better. I know that they have career guides and mentors and everything, but again, it could be improved. Moving from that, well, speaking of schools and stuff, which we that bullying also happens in schools. Do you think bullying is linked to youth violence? If so, how?
Yeah, I think bullying is definitely linked to youth violence because bullying isn't always just verbal or cyber. Bullying can very much become physical. Whether it's just whether it's just like small things that might tripping you over, or like really worse things like types of sexual harassment. It's very much like prevalent, and I don't always think it's like. I feel like peer pressure is the main problem in that section of bullying. I don't think every bully wants to actually be bullied. It's because the people they're around and the bad crowds that they've got themselves into are the ones who sort of force them to commit this violence, this youth on youth violence upon each other.
Yeah. Jeremiah?
A lot of people have the perception that a bully was someone who was bullied in the past. The transfer of aggression. I believe the only way you bully somebody is if you have experienced violence in the past before. And bullying links to violence because people who feel vulnerable, in a sense, will want to join groups or what they call gangs, and therefore inflicting violence on other people, feeling that they are safe in a sense.
Yeah. Bullying is one of those things that it's kind of harder to answer as well because you don't know what a child is going through to make them bully other people. On the other side as well is to protect those that are being bullied or potential targets to those bullies. So yeah, it's one of those complex issues that need to be looked at deeper. But I think that was a nice place to end the show tonight. It was so great to have you both on the second half of the show to give your perspectives. It was very insightful. And do you have any kind of last remarks?
I think our topic was genuinely about youth violence. My last remarks was I wish that we would actually act upon our words. I wish youth could get more community spaces and things that will keep us busy because we are young adults, but we're also pretty fresh to the world. So I wish it would be a bit kinder to us.
Yeah. That was a really good point, especially in terms of having people who've kind of saved themselves from youth violence or this crime life or criminal life. It would be great to have them as well, kind of warn other people of the different telltale signs. So yeah, Jeremiah, are you ready for us to circle back? Yeah.
My last remark on our topic, being a very sensitive topic, is that more opportunities like the radio show where you can come and talk about your experiences to be given to young people, and just platforms where concur with one more affordable for young people to indulge in different activities, taking the mind off violence, be more productive.
Yeah,
100%.
getting young people involved can be so helpful, especially in the radio show, bringing awareness to these issues.
Yeah, and you give people a purpose to do something, especially when they're involved in something meaningful, like, I don't know, this, for example, or Step Forward Luton. It gives people that platform and a purpose to kind of keep on going. So thank you so much for that again. It was great to have you on today. I hope you have great holidays as the holidays are approaching. If you do celebrate them, then I hope everything goes well as you planned. This has been Youthology on AEK Radio, brought to you by Attentive Social Enterprise. We're normally here every 2 Wednesdays of the month, PM to 7 PM. I have been your host, Ruth.
And Manur.
And we will see you after the new year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.